Hey, bro, what do you want, bro? What do you want? I paid for my food. I paid for my food. What are you talking? Why you following me down the street? You need to get the fuck back. You need to get back. Why are you following me?
So the guy recording the video apparently went to this restaurant. He ordered himself a nice $25 meal, and after receiving his food, apparently he didn't tip. He ends up leaving the restaurant, and the restaurant owner / manager follows him, upset that he didn't tip.
Call 911. Call 911. If you need to settle something, you know who to call?
Yeah, they're over here. Let's go. I know them.
I'm okay. Go tell them. You go tell them.
Then you wait here. I'll call
You go tell them. You go tell them. I paid for my food. I handed you $20. You can't charge me more than what the menu say.
No,
So what are you talking about? Bro, I'm not legally required to give you a fucking tip. Get the fuck back.
The guy recording the video starts getting super defensive, and I mean rightfully so, because he's getting followed by this guy. You start to hear the nervousness in his voice, and at some point he takes a firm stance and yells at the guy to get back. And the guy doesn't respond to this well at all.
Get back. Get back, bro.
Huh?
I'm telling you to get back.
Yelling
I'm
at
not
me.
trying to fuck with you, bro. Bro, I'm not trying to fuck with you. You piece of shit. Bro, I'm not trying to fuck
Goddamn
with you.
fucking yelling at me.
Bro,
Shit, man.
I paid
I'll
for my
smack
food.
the shit out of
Bro,
you,
I paid for
punk
my
ass,
food.
man.
I paid for my food, bro.
Piece of shit.
I paid for my food.
How the f you didn't think
Bro,
you make money?
I paid for my
man?
I
How
paid
am I
for
f***ing staff supposed to make f***ing
I
money,
paid
huh?
for-
I ain't gonna lie, that's a crazy statement. It's your staff.
So raise your price,
Huh?
bro. We can solve this chill, bro.
Punk ass,
We
man.
can solve
the
this
police
chill,
is right there,
bro.
bro.
We can solve this chill, bro.
I already know what a lot of you guys are thinking.
God knows not to put me in these type of situations, because that would have played out very differently.
Now, I'm not a lawyer or anything, but if someone is following you for several blocks, clearly being malicious, cussing at you, threatening you, correct me if I'm wrong, but at a certain point, you should be able to legally shoot this person, or at least, you know, fight back somehow. Now, for anyone wondering what happened to the owner of this restaurant, all I'm gonna say is he should have let that tip go.
That was just a shame, you know, bring shame to my wife as a husband, you know, as an owner, you know, at the same time, you know, to my mom and dad.
The video ignited a debate online about tipping and led some people to leave messages on the sidewalk in shock, calling the business Table to Sticks anti-black.
Table to Sticks, how can I help you?
Hey, you need some food, okay?
I'm sorry?
Let me order some food, stupid.
The backlash has forced them to stop taking calls, deactivate their social media, while Yelp has paused any new reviews.
Now, I'm not saying what the restaurant owner did is okay by any means, but I definitely feel like he was having a moment. I want to give him the benefit of the doubt, especially because he's a business owner. He was probably under a lot of pressure, and that was kind of his breaking point. And one thing that's a pretty good indicator of when someone is being genuine is how they go about taking accountability. And it seemed like this guy took full responsibility and didn't try to do any like blame shifting. And I'm also going to give the victim the benefit of the doubt, because we never know if that was his last. You never know people's situations. I've had moments where I bought food and I couldn't afford to tip. And for all the people who perpetuate and believe in the stereotype that black men are violent, I just want to say that this situation shows you that it's not all of us. Now, obviously, there's a much bigger problem that needs to be addressed here, which is American tipping culture. So today we're going to talk about tipping culture and how it went from being a gesture to an unspoken rule. To understand how America basically came up with a second way to tax its citizens, we got to go back to the 20th century. In the 1800s, tipping was actually considered un-American. People thought it created an unfair class system. But after the Civil War, restaurants, especially those who didn't want to pay black workers, started encouraging tips so they can avoid paying their workers their wages. And then fast forward to 1938, the Fair Labor Standards Act was passed. It basically allowed businesses to pay tipped workers below minimum wage, assuming that tips would make up the difference. And to this day, some states still allow a $2.13 base wage for tipped workers. $2.13.
As a workers' rights lawyer, I can confirm that is true. This is called a tipped minimum wage, and under federal law, employers are allowed to pay $2.13 per hour so long as the employee's tips meet the full minimum wage. That means the employer gets to take your tips and use it to meet their minimum wage obligation.
Now let's compare American tipping culture to the rest of the world. In Japan, tipping is basically offensive. You're expected to do your job with pride. You try to tip your sushi chef, and they're probably gonna feel insulted. In France, a small service fee is already included, and if you leave a couple coins, great, they're appreciated, but no one's gonna give you side eyes if you don't. In Australia, servers earn a livable wage regardless of tips, so a tip is more like a pleasant surprise instead of an obligation. In Germany, if you round up the bill, maybe leave like 5-10%, it's cool. But see, it's mostly in America where you find the fed up public versus the entitled, a lot of times desperate workers. And that's part of the reason why we have this rising conflict between frequent restaurant goers or people who use any service that includes tipping, and the other side, which is tipped workers. workers. I've seen a multitude of videos of tipped workers getting online and complaining about how they served a large party and the party didn't tip enough and how they regret putting in all that effort.
I asked my table for a tip after they were gonna stiff me. And I don't care how much hate I get for this. It's a Saturday night. I'm being told I'm gonna get a party of 16, which I said, great, bring it on. Let's go, easy money. So I thought, okay? So the party of 16 gets sat in my section. They take up 3 tables in my section. So when you get sat a party, you usually get skipped in rotation a few times because you're dealing with a big party. I get to the table, I introduce myself, I do my whole spiel. Before I'm finished even speaking, one guy's like, whoa, hey, stop. He said, hold on. He said, you're not going to talk to them, you're going to talk to me. I'm going to order everybody's food and then I'll give you the drinks. I said, okay, perfect. What are we having a drink? He said, no, I'm going to give you the food first and then I'm going to give you the drinks. I said, okay, perfect. What will you be having? Okay. I said, perfect. I've sent in the order for you. He said, and make it quick because we have somewhere to be. That's where I almost lost my shit. Because how do you come out to a restaurant, order 7 omelets and tell me to hurry up?
So the lady goes on to explain how they provided excellent service, the food came out super quick, and she made sure that they had everything they needed. Which, don't get me wrong, that's nice and all, but that's what you're supposed to do. That should be the standard. So after her patience and providing them with excellent service, this is what happened.
When it came to pay, he pays me cash. He gives me $321, which means no tip. And I was like, okay. So I went to the table. There's no tip at the table, anything. I said, okay, I'm going to go ask him. So I went up to him. I said, excuse me, sir, you only gave me $321. I just wanted to ensure that this was accurate. You're not going to leave any gratuity. I just wanted to make sure everything came out to your expectations. You enjoyed your food. Everything was to your liking. And, you know, I just want to make sure. He said, well, I didn't know it was mandatory. I said, no, it's not mandatory. I just wanted to ensure that this was accurate, that nobody took the tip off the table or anything like that. This man pulls out a $50 bill, gives it to me, kind of like, here's your tip and shut the fuck up, get out my face type shit, which I don't give a fuck, because how dare you go out to eat in a party of 16 on a tab of $320 and not tip?
Now look, I don't agree with the man being rude to her, but when it comes to tipping, I really feel like it's a case by case, person by person type of thing, because you're not legally required to tip. And then there's another aspect where people start shaming you for the amount that you tip. Like, these restaurants and these servers expect you to tip more than 20% of the meal's value. And not gonna lie, that's kind of crazy in this economy, especially when you think about the people who sometimes have to eat out. I mean, if they eat out a couple times and they tip every time, it's gonna get to a point where the amount that they tipped could have paid for another meal. And if you're tipping like 20% plus, all it takes is like 4 or 5 times eating out and you would have paid for a whole nother meal with the amount that you tipped. And I'd also like to point out that this 20% tip is expected regardless of service quality or shoot, even service to begin with. Like, they could just be handing you your food and they'll expect this fat tip.
Pause.
And don't even get me started with the self-serve type of restaurants. Like, sir, ma'am, I picked this muffin up off the counter. You guys don't offer table service, no refills, just muffins. Shoot, at this point, you should be tipping me. And we aren't talking enough about the new meta for tipping, iPads.
These screens are designed to make you spend more money. Compared to a tip jar, on-screen prompts turn tipping or not tipping into an active choice, not a passive choice. Plus, the user interface design on these tip POS systems can influence people to tip more than they typically would, simply by increasing the percentages of the default tip option. According to this study by Cornell, setting the default options higher than 25% caused fewer people to tip. But overall tip revenue increased because customers who decided to tip still gave more. This kind of manipulation of the user is what we call dark design patterns in user experience design. There are also cases where the tips don't make it back to the workers.
You'll go buy some coffee, buy some food, whatever, and then after you get your food, they'll flip the iPad and then you see a screen. And the screen will show you several options of what you can tip by percent. Most of the time, the least you can tip is like 18%. Sometimes it's like 20 to 25%. And keep in mind, they make these tipping icons huge and then they put no tip all the way at the bottom, and it's usually super small. And besides the no tip, there's usually a button to adjust the tip. And it's little tricks like these that these establishments use to pressure you into tipping. Because a lot of times when you're paying for your food, especially if you got a line of people waiting behind you, you don't want to press no tip because then you'll get a death stare from the worker. And you also don't want to press adjust tip because it's going to take so long to adjust the tip and you got people waiting behind you. So all you're really left with is pressing one of the options on the screen, which usually ends up with you tipping more than you wanted to tip to begin with. And now if this is a sit down dining restaurant and you sat down and dined, if that tip isn't fat enough, they might stare you down, they might chase you down, or shoot, you might end up on their TikTok.
Okay, $320, right? Minimum 15% gratuity would have been $48. So he basically just gave me the minimum, which is fine. But if you don't got money to go to tip, don't even go out to eat.
Who the f do you think you are? That is a crazy statement to make, I can't lie. People need to stop making it seem like it's illegal to not tip. Tipping is completely optional. And I'm saying this as someone who always tips. The only time I haven't tipped is when I received horrible customer service or if I was just down bad financially. Like, it's genuinely scary how tipping has become almost like a second tax for American citizens. And the crazier part is people are starting to use this tipping system in other professions as well. And some of them are using it to scam people.
My grandma almost got scammed for $400 by who? A plumber. A plumber came to her house, okay? The total was $2,000. He flipped over an iPad and gave her an iPad 15, 20, and 25%. My grandma, God bless her heart, I love her so much, but she clicked 20%. Thank God my dad was there. He was like, hey, what's this extra $400 charge? And the plumber had the balls to say, oh, that's the gratuity. Are you kidding me? Like, not only is that crazy and should be almost illegal, but how is a plumber gonna flip the iPad over and say, yo, gratuity?
Now, I know some people are gonna try to argue that that wasn't a scam, and sure, you might be right, but he was still taking advantage of the elderly. Because anyone who isn't super late in their years and is completely there can obviously see how crazy a $400 tip is. And for all the people who might be going out over the weekend, drinking and going to some of these restaurants, be careful because they try to scam people too. This restaurant almost got away with charging this couple $70 for a slice of pizza. And although this couple avoided getting scammed, I'm pretty sure other people didn't.
The guy was basically like, oh, you didn't mean to tip? And my husband was like, no, you didn't even show me the screen. I was never shown a screen to tip. Like, what are you talking about? And then my husband started getting pissed because he's like, are you trying to play me like I'm stupid? Like, you're saying that I added this tip. I didn't add this tip. So then the guy started getting red and flustered and stuff because, like, obviously he was caught in adding this tip to the bill. He was like trying to finesse the drunk people that were coming in too, because he was like adding a tip in manually for them. Like, the slices would be like $10 and he would be like, how about $35 for a tip? How about $20? And these people would be like, okay, fine, 25. I'm like, this dude is just finessing these drunk people.
And just the interesting side note, studies show that tipping is heavily influenced by attractiveness, race, gender, and even whether the server draws a smiley face on the receipt. So if you thought tipping was a fair meritocracy, just know you're wrong. It's more like a shallow popularity contest. And look, I'm not here to blame the people or blame the workers. It's these businesses that are setting their wages so low that their workers need to rely on these aggressive tipping tactics to pay their bills. Now, a lot of these workers are arguing that if no one pays tips or, a good enough tip, these businesses are gonna start putting what they would have earned from tips into the price of the food. And to be honest, I prefer that. That way everyone is guaranteed their pay and it doesn't feel like anyone is forced to have this transactional encounter. Because I'm not gonna lie, it's pretty obvious to see when a server is forcing themselves to put up with you. But yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments. Should America continue its tipping system or should we ban tipping? And do you think it'll have a negative or a positive outcome? If you made it this far, I appreciate you so much for watching. Go ahead and like, comment, subscribe, and turn on post notifications for me. And if you want to join the 4D fam and be a part of 4D World, go ahead and join my Discord channel. And if you didn't know, your boy definitely knows how to put that shit on, so go ahead and follow my Instagram. I'm gonna be dropping heat on there very soon. All links are in the description below. Again, I appreciate y'all for watching, and yo gang, can you subscribe to my reaction channel, 4D Shams Live? I know I already said it, but come on gang, come on, do me a favor. Hey, I appreciate you. Hey, but not for real though, keep turning me up, bruh. 4D Shams, 4D World, I'm out. Love y'all.